Hit him with a different angle today. Bumba Clot Ollie. Ollie's sending me reels now. It's dangerous. Boom, 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 boom. I'm ready whenever you are, Harrison.
All right, I'm
Oops.
ready.
Let's do this. Let's light the tits on fire.
All right, so welcome in everybody. Today is Wednesday, April 16th, I believe. Yeah, April 16th, 2025. Welcome into another episode of The Gentleman's Code. Today is episode 36 of The Gentleman's Code, so appreciate you guys tuning in every week. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button wherever you're watching YouTube, X, Twitch, Kick, wherever you're watching this at. Make sure to follow The Gentleman so you guys can get notifications when we go live every single week. So we were having a pretty eventful April so far. April's flying by. I can't believe it's already April 16th. Feels like March was just yesterday. So the days are just flying by super fast. So if you guys, are trying to get things done, you got to get things done this week, next week before the month end, because the month end is always a different animal to attack because when you're rolling into something new, you want to maybe update your spreadsheets, update your profits, your loss. So what we're going to be talking about today, I'm sure Priamo's got some current events he wants to hit on. I got some things jotted down that I was going to touch on. But good morning, Priamo. How you doing? How's the state of the crypto market? How are things looking from your perspective, and what do you got planned for this week?
Going on Boba Fett. Let's rock this bitch. So, crypto markets. Crypto, I actually didn't check that this morning so far. Oh, look at that. We held just where we needed to hold. So, yeah, Bitcoin is right at that trend line we were talking about inside the Discord. Just held it again, which is huge. Needs to hold that. It looks like it wicked down to 83,000 and yeah, just opened back above. Interesting. Yeah, markets are interesting. Everything looked like it started cooling down. The VIX was coming down on equities because the tariffs had come off the board, 90-day pause.
Mm-hmm.
And the only ones left are the ones on China. The What I've been hearing and what I've seen too is even with the tariffs paused though, the liquidity issues haven't changed. And the trade war is not technically over because the one that everybody cares about is China, and that's the one that is still on. So you can tell people are still risk off, but I don't see a catalyst to make us nuke down harder right now. The only thing that like we would need some kind of news event, some type of change in economic or in the trade war status for us to nuke down another leg. But outside of that, I mean, that's really all that's going on right now. It's just a boring time in the sense that you haven't gotten bullish price action in a while. So for people who are just sitting in spot positions waiting for bags to go up, it's just boring because it's taking a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
but reclaim those numbers from the original tariff announcement that we nuked down on equities and crypto, kind of reclaimed a little stability from everything that I saw, especially on the SPX and some crypto stuff. But in terms of the tariffs, I thought they still had the 10% tariff across the board, except for China. So that was they paused the reciprocal tariffs in terms of like the countries that were getting 30, 40, 50, and some, Taiwan was getting some 60% on the semiconductors. So I think they paused all that, but it was pretty much like a sneaky move to the sneak 10% tariffs on every country by saying, okay, we're going to pause the reciprocal tariffs, but I'm pretty sure they still have a baseline of 10% across the board. So they pretty
look at
much,
that.
snuck 10% tariffs on every country, and people are like okay with it now because the market's reclaimed, everything kind of bounced back, and now, that's what I thought he said in his Truth Social post. So I don't know, could be wrong, but that's what I thought they still had going on. So could be um, could be the reason why we're not flying back up yet.
You're probably right because that sounds familiar. I'm gonna look it up real quick. So are there still 10% tariffs on nations? Hold on. Trump's 10% tariffs may be less Yeah, you're right. So they still have 10% across the board, just not the major reciprocal tariffs.
Okay.
Whose tariffs you raised to, but yeah, the ones on China obviously are still on. Okay. So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I wanted to start it. I saw a trend going around on social media, a trend that I saw that's popping up on TikTok right now is that these Chinese manufacturers, I don't know if you saw this, these Chinese manufacturers are pretty much trolling people who buy these luxury goods from American brands, Louis Vuitton and Gucci and all these, even like a Lululemon or some of these other brands. Nike is one as well. And what they're pretty much doing and what they're saying is that, listen, these products that you're buying for, let's take a Lululemon jogger set, right? $120 for the pants and $90 for the shirt. Comes out to $210 plus American tax, right? And what these people are doing, they're like, listen, we make these products here in China. We make them for $1 and we make the shirt for $1.50. And they turn around and they sell it to you guys for $210. He's like, so don't be mad at us. And he's like, listen, the tariff doesn't affect us as much because Lululemon's buying the dollar price and they're buying the $1.50 price for the shirt. It might be more than that, it might be less, whatever. But that's the baseline. They're marking up these products by hundreds and hundreds of percent, thousands of percent. In reality, the tariff that Lululemon's going to pay is on the cost of goods sold. So they're going to buy it from the factory at super cheap price, $1, $2, $3, mark that up by, well, now it's 100%, but 100%, so they may be paying $6, $7, and then flipping it and still turning a major profit on the U.S. consumer. So right now there's a major disconnect of how these companies are going about it, and they're not just going to slap 100% more on their price tag. They know that's going to trouble them. But these manufacturing companies in China are starting to post videos now and be like, oh, this Gucci bag that you pay $8,000 for, oh, we make it in the factory for like $200, and trying to deter people from actually buying from these luxury brands and just buy it straight from the manufacturer themselves.
Isn't that what a good fucking point? Now I'm thinking in my head that the wheels are turning because you see how the economists and some of the gentlemen that run or that are in the administration right now are saying that the consumer, we've done the studies, they only pass on zero point 0.7 a percent, like very small percentage of the tariff onto the consumer. Now it makes sense. That's because I would think about that because then they had this data, they would talk about the statistics, but who did eat it? Because somebody has to eat the tariff.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. So if the consumer's not eating it and it's not creating inflation, which is, hey, amazing, love that, because then you could slap on the tariffs and then the consumers still get what they get for the price that they wanted at.
Yep.
But that makes sense. That's it right there. It's just so inexpensive to manufacture it, and they're paying the tariff on the manufacturing price as opposed to the retail price, right?
Yep.
Big difference.
That is the difference, and it makes complete sense that the U.S. companies are the ones eating these tariffs. Because even if you go to the grocery store and you get a French wine, you're not buying that French wine or that Italian wine straight from Italy or straight from France. You're buying it from Kroger. You're buying it from Publix, right? They already bought that product at the wholesale price, and then they're just, they're the middleman. It's in their store. You could go in and buy it. It's the same with everything. Nike, Lululemon, like any store that you want to go into in the mall, it's already purchased from somewhere and assembled, or they put tags on it, whatever they do. So, they're really the gears are starting to click now, like you said, on this economic war going on of how things are done. And where I think that things are going to have to change, and where I think the Trump administration is really putting their focus, but they're not saying it out loud, is that it's the U.S. companies that have to start changing their strategies. It's because, like we just said, take the Nike example. How long are they going to last once Americans find out, which, I mean, I think Americans do know this for the most part, that they make their products super cheap in sweatshops in China and Vietnam or wherever they do it, India, and then they just bring it over here and we buy it. I think most Americans probably do know that. That's how, those kind of products are made. But it's going to come to a point where, okay, well, how far is Nike willing to go to make a profit? Like, what are their margins? Are they making 60% margin on their products? And will they be okay if they make only 40%? So it seems like it's a lot of the U.S. companies that have sold out the American consumers to one, send all their working jobs overseas and then make their margins thousands of percent to the customers that they're supposed to be, helping.
It's it's such an interesting predicament because the companies, once you become used to making something, that's the issue too, is it's so much more difficult to cut back on how much you make as opposed to is to try to make more money. So if a company like Nike is used to making 60% margins, their entire business is built on the fact that they make 60% margins. That's how they pay their administrators. That's how they pay for the leases on their office buildings. That's just what they're used to making. And let's just say, right, they lose 20% on their margin. Well, 20% of 60% is 33.3% really. So, right, yeah. So that's we're talking multi-billions of dollars of profit is lost. So that's when it becomes an existential crisis for a company like Nike. Could they actually take a 20% hit on margins? Really, no, probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they still have to be able to manufacture for that cheap. So the question is, where do they go next? And so they could do Mexico. They could do, yeah, I don't know the solution, but that's the issue for these companies is that if you do cut that much into their margin, how are they going to survive? It's
Yeah.
not possible. Um, Interesting. And that's the thing with the incentives when we talk about when you give me an incentive, I'll show you an outcome. It's not even necessarily that these companies are so evil. Maybe some of them are, but they're just doing what economically makes the most sense. It's like if you're going to incentivize a company through the fact that there are no tariffs to move their factories overseas to a country where it's dirt cheap to manufacture and they can make all this profit on their product, they're going to do that. They're just going to do it. So the administration in the US has to figure out a way, how do we make it economically feasible and make sense for these companies to come back to the US and be able to do business? Because at the end of the day, the American consumer is the golden goose. It's like the gold egg. It's what they want, because that's the richest consumers is the people who have money in the U.S. So you got to find a way to make it make sense for them to come back to manufacture in this market. That's the tough part.
Yep.
So
And we talked about this last time we talked about tariffs was, China has a substantial lower GDP per capita per their population base, but when you could buy the same Lululemon jogger pants for 80% less over there, you don't need a higher GDP per capita because you're not spending as much on goods and services. So I think, and we don't have to stay on this topic for long. I know we beat the nail into the horse, but um, just rounding it out, I think that is the battle going on right now because the public companies, which are SEC filing, and they have investors and they have a board of directors, which, the goal of the board of directors of all these major publicly traded companies is to drive a profit. That's the only goal, is to increase profit, increase shareholder value, and then funnel that money into their pockets and make money. I respect it, right? That's what every business should be doing, trying to make more money, try to get going. But over the past 40 years of the United States government, we've incentivized the globalization model, which is you guys could ship all the jobs out over there, go make it super cheap, and then bring the products back to us at a cheap price, and you guys get to make your money. Well, we've known now that that's not really the best way to grow our country as a whole. So we're in this battle of corporate America, corporate entities versus the government itself, which is trying to make their money and trying to enrich the population. But if the government is sending all these, or not the government, these corporations are sending the jobs overseas and then they're making money, but is it funneling down into their own people? That's the problem that we're starting to have.
right. So we got to talk about. Did you see the meeting they had in the Oval Office with not the Oval Office in the White House with President Bukele,
Yep.
the big dog? Bro, every time I see him, I start thinking about, all right, I literally went on Airbnb yesterday to look at 1 month stays for El Salvador.
What are
'Cause
the
I'm in
prices looking like?
I thought it was going to be way cheaper. I mean, it's the same price as it would be in the US,
Hmm.
so it's not like crazy, but I figured it would have been way cheaper. It's not. If you go to what's it called? El Salvador is the country. San Salvador is the capital.
San Salvador. Yep, I've heard of that.
I was looking at it. I mean, it's 1,700, 2,000 for the month, normal rent in the US.
Yeah.
But, and of course, it's because it's Airbnb. I'm sure if you figured out a way to, go direct to somebody in El Salvador, it'd be way cheaper.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to look at property now too, because I have to find out how long his term is though, because I'm not going to fucking buy something in El Salvador and then he's gone and then everybody's killing each other again. But every time I see him, I love Bukele.
Hmm.
Probably he's good. He's good. He gets it. He gets it. And what he's doing for his people is fantastic because he's creating an alliance and a friendship with President Trump to create a relationship with the United States that is going to obviously could only benefit El Salvador. And so the people in this country should be so happy for him and excited to have him in place, which I'm sure they are because he completely cleaned up the country. But what he's doing is fantastic. The guy's playing the game at the highest level. So, but yeah, I'm curious to hear what you had to say about that meeting.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple big things. One of the major ones that I saw hit the news was obviously that MS-13 gang member that they picked up in Maryland, had a wife, I'm pretty sure maybe had a kid. Um,
3 kids, I think. Yeah, three
yeah, was
kids.
was not, was a citizen of El Salvador. He was on their watch list as an MS-13 gang member. They picked him up, deported him. I'm seeing a lot of the major news networks, ABC and CBS, are saying how he's wrongfully um, deported.
Deported.
But I'm like, if he's this is, Stephen Miller's been talking about it, and some other people have been talking about that he's an MS-13 gang member and he's not a U.S. citizen, and we picked him up and we sent him to El Salvador. Why would we bring him back? Bless you.
Thank you.
So that's a major talking point right now, and I'm pretty sure even the Supreme Court voted on it that the only thing that the Trump administration is like liable to do now is that if El Salvador were to fly him back in and drop him off at the airport, they would have to facilitate a ride to the detention center or to customs or whatever it is, wherever he would go again to get deported again. So that is what Bukele said. He's like, I'm not going to fly a terrorist back into the United States. Like, why would I do that? He's like, we like to lock terrorists up in our country. And that's when the Trump was like really gassing him up. He's like, this guy, he's like, he was loving him there when he said that, when he had that. So yeah, and then one of the things that he said, I don't remember the exact quote, but it was, sometimes you have to incarcerate a few bad ones to liberate millions of people, was a quote, something like that. And that's so
Exactly.
true. There's going to be bad apples that are going to, one, they're going to teach the younger generation to be bad apples if you don't arrest them, and gang violence and teaching other people to do things and interacting with people and drugs and crime. So if you get rid of the bad apples, you can liberate the other people to be free and to have a prosperous life and a safe life. And like they were talking about the women and children, and yeah, so a couple of different points there. What's your take on the MS-13 gang member though that they seemingly want to bring back to United States for some reason?
Yeah, it's just incredible. So there's a couple, yeah, incredible. Couple of big key points that I had from that. So based on what you said with Bukele saying, yeah, to liberate millions, you're gonna have to incarcerate a few. So this is what I mean when I say he gets it. He gets it in the sense that, yeah, there is sympathy for those people that get locked up in that prison in El Salvador and they're never going to see the light of day again. Sympathy in the sense that, yeah, that's sad for any human being, right? It's not a good thing that we have to do that to human beings and waste their life like that. It is. It's not good. Nobody likes that, right? But he gets it because he understands you can't prioritize the or sympathize with those people more than you do with the innocent people. And that's the issue that the left is having right now in the US is they're trying to sympathize with all the wrong people. They think that by being, oh, we got to save this MS-13 game member. Oh, we got to save, you know, these people who are coming across the border illegally. Oh, we got to. it's sympathy for all the wrong people. Why aren't you having sympathy for the innocent mother who lost her innocent daughter to who got, raped and beaten up and murdered and thrown into a lake? They never talk about these people. They never ask questions about these people. All you ever hear about are the questions about what about this person who got deported? What about this person? What about their human rights? What about the human rights for this illegal immigrant that's an MS-13 gang member and involved with gang violence that came into our country? Shouldn't they have due process? What are you talking about? Who was it who made the point? I think it was, yeah, it was Stephen Miller. He made the point. He said, listen, if we gave every single illegal immigrant the same due process and went at the pace that the Biden administration went at, we would be, you know, trying people for illegal immigration courts for the next, 4 or 5 centuries. It would be their great grandchildren that be on trial for this crime.
Hmm.
It's like it doesn't work. And while these people are out in the streets as they're going through these immigration courts, that's when they're going and committing the crimes. So that was the first thing is that people they have sympathy for the wrong person. It's like, yeah, it sucks that this guy got taken away from his wife and kids. I have sympathy for that. It sucks. His wife is alone with the kids. They lost their dad. That sucks. But that's what's required to protect our people. He was here illegally. He's a citizen of El Salvador. What do you want to do? He has to go back. That's the law. So I get it, but you sympathy for the wrong people.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think
uh,
where they're getting, I think from what I read, it was he was an active gang member there. He might not have been an active gang member here in the United States with his kids and his family, but he was there, and this is the connection that they're having between the El Salvador government and the United States government. Where they're facilitating, like, hey, listen, we know this guy is an active gang member, and he's in the United States. Like, we know it is, like he is. So they're going to obviously want to retract those guys, and maybe a lot of them claim asylum. The gang violence was getting a lot, and he was trying to get away from it. It's like, unfortunately, it really doesn't really matter because you were a part of it, and then you come to the United States. It's not a good look. It's like if you were buying a house, like the United States is your home, right? And your previous home, you lived in a trap house. You were dealing drugs, and you were, you know, shooting guns with your buddies in the backyard. It's like if I was the landlord of the new house, I'd be like, I don't want you living here. Like you're an El Salvador MS-13 gang member. Like that's just common sense, right? So, yeah, like you said, you got to have sympathy slightly for the kids and the mother who lose the father, but at the same time, it's like, where do you draw the line of who you're letting in the country of that nature? And I think that the line has to be drawn with known criminals for sure. And
Iron Fist.
and I think too that he can go to El Salvador and maybe do the time for the crimes he committed there, and eventually he could get out one day and he could live in El Salvador and he could still see his kids one day and still see his wife one day. They could go back down there and live there and be happy. But right now he has to maybe do a couple years in that prison and pay and do the time for the crimes he's did.
Oh, I don't think he's ever getting out.
No,
He's
he's
cooked.
goner.
Yeah. That prison, you go in there, you don't come back out.
He's
That
cooked then.
He's cooked. He's cooked. That's what I'm saying. It does. I get it. It's not good, right? That's the thing. It's not good, but you have to do it. That's what Bukele's point is the reason he's had so much success in his country is he doesn't negotiate. There's no
Hmm.
leeway because what happened again in this country is the consequences are so light and there's so little accountability that's why people can get away with this bullshit. As soon as it sucks that you have to make examples of people, but that's the only way that you get things done. So, for example, Pam Bondi catching these people who light the Tesla factories on fire and lighting these fucking cars on fire, they have to go for the maximum sentence, the maximum, whatever they can do under the law, because you have to deter other people from doing it. If there's no consequences, if they know they can get away with it, they're going to continue to do it. And it's not something that they should be able to continue to get away with. So you have to lay down the law. You have to make an example of somebody. So so you have to do that with the Tesla people. You have to do that with the illegal immigrants. Now you see the border crossings, right? You see the statistics on that now. Virtually nobody. Why? Because there's a deterrent. They know now if I come, I'm going to jail or I'm going to get deported. I'm not going to waste my time. So you have to create a deterrent. This is just normal. This is how life fucking works. So again, with the guy in Maryland, they keep calling that's another great. The media is so funny. It's so it's not. I mean, it is intelligent because they understand how to manipulate the narrative. But this is why people have to be so careful about how they consume information. The narrative is Maryland man, man from Maryland, as if he's a citizen of the U.S. and he's from wrongly deported. They're trying to make it sound like they sent like one of us,
Hmm.
a U.S. citizen, to El Salvador to this prison. Oh no, bro, he's not a Maryland man. He's an El Salvadorian citizen. What do you mean Maryland man? He was living in Maryland. He's not a Maryland man. So it's just the way they twist things in your head. The one last point I'll make on this too. I've never heard any of these news stations talking about the guy from Pittsburgh they brought back from Russia who was in jail for having weed. I don't hear them talking about any of the hostages that Trump's freed. Let's come back to the White House to talk. Speak. I don't hear. Trump has gotten so many people back from Russia and other countries and hostages freed, and they're at the White House all the time talking about, oh my God, Trump, thank you, Trump. That's the only reason I'm here. Da, da, da. Literally flying in groups of people that he's freeing from around the world. U.S.
Yeah,
citizens, people from the U.S., our people.
that are imprisoned overseas.
The media doesn't talk about any of them because they don't care about the American citizens. They care more about the illegal immigrants that are here that were a part of MS-13 that they want to get back. Dude, one of our senators, you see the video of that Democratic senator, he said, I'm going to go to El Salvador and meet with President Bukele because we're going to get this man back. So you're going to do this for the illegal immigrant, but you didn't do that for the guy in Russia?
Yeah,
Bro, shut the fuck up. Bro, these people are fucking delusional.
it's
Now this shit's
crazy,
getting me hot, bro.
right? It doesn't make any sense. Like, where do their alliances lie? And another thing that I saw that the Trump administration might try to do is make dual citizens expelled from Congress. Because if you have an alliance to another country, why would you be working for the United States government as a senator or as a House of Representatives? And I really thought about it. I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. It's like if you were a citizen somewhere else, and it's it's fairly easy to become a U.S. citizen as opposed to some other countries, especially Europe. It's really hard unless Italy has some things you could do with grandparents. But if you want to go become a citizen in another country, it's pretty difficult. The United States, it's pretty we have ways to go with green cards, and over the past couple of years, even like Social Security cards being handed out. So yeah, I mean, becoming a citizen of two different countries is no joke, and that's a serious thing. And should you be able to be a Congress member with that? I don't know. You can't be if you were the president if you were a citizen of another country. So how come they do it with the Senate and the House of Representatives?
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I agree because it makes sense. Even as somebody who is looking to get more than one citizenship, it makes sense to me, right? Why would you be able to pass legislation in a nation where you have a citizenship to another nation? It's just a conflict of interest. It doesn't make sense. So you're either all in on the US or you're not, right? You can have dual citizenship, but you're just not going to be in Congress because why would it makes sense to me?
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely makes sense, to still be able to have more than one, but it's like, okay, well, he got his citizenship to wherever, like Italy when he was 25, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, he was born here, he was raised here, he's an American citizen, and then, you know, wants to live in Italy for a couple years. Totally get it. But if you're someone who was, you're born in the Congo and you came to America when you're 38 and then you get your American citizenship and then you become a senator when you're 45, it's like, so there's definitely different things that are going to come up with that because there's a lot of people in Congress that are dual citizens, is the whole point of why it's coming up. But it's an interesting take. I never really thought about it before.
Yeah, because I mean, think about what the Chinese could do, or that one lady in Congress who has the headdress. I forget her name. Omar.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That to me that doesn't make sense. So you're gonna let other nations send people infiltrate our system and then make legislation that benefits the way that it's the same thing with the UK and Muslims wanting to bring Sharia law. Listen, if you want Sharia law, I'm not saying anything about Muslims. I love Muslims. Beautiful. But you don't come into another country. Well, the Muslims can do whatever they want because if the UK lets them do what lets the Muslims do what they do, good for them. They won. They won the battle. But as a UK citizen or somebody part of the UK government, I would be saying, you can't come here, get into our political system, get into our cities, into our, institutions and completely change the way that we live to make it the way that you want to live, because then you destroy the nation. So I get it. So you get these people coming from the Congo who wants to get into Congress. I'd be like, no, what do you mean? You weren't born here.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
or give up your citizenship to Congo.
that's true. That's what you could do. And in terms of that, we were talking about with the UK and the Sharia law, it's like if you look at the history of it, it hasn't worked anywhere. Like if you look at Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, and even some part, I think Egypt at one time, they had a revolution to get rid of the Sharia law. Like it hasn't worked. Like some of those places are still in wartime to this day because of what that has done, and it sparks militia and it sparks some organizations that you don't want there. So that's why the Sharia law has to expand to keep going into other countries. And like you said, if they let them, but the people there should understand, like, listen, this has never worked before. Like, look at the countries that this is coming from. We don't want that here. So that's a whole nother topic. But
Let's look up. I'm gonna look up Sharia law real quick, just because I want to know exactly. Because I hear it, I hear it. Let's look at this. What's Sharia law? Islamic law. So Sharia law, also known as Islamic law, is a body of religious law that forms a part of the Islamic tradition based on scriptures of Islam, particularly the Quran and Hadith. It is seen as the expression of God's command for Muslims and constitutes a system of duties that are incumbent upon all Muslims by virtue of their religious belief. Sharia encompasses both the religious and secular practices of Muslims, covering two broad domains, the rights of God and the rights of man. It informs and regulates most aspects of Muslim life, how one prays, washes, how one governs and does business. I want to see like what is the fucking crazy shit about it. Because I know that the big one is always the thing for women. Sharia law punishments. Sharia law includes a set of punishments known as hudud, which are prescribed for specific crimes such as apostasy, theft, adultery, and drinking alcohol. These punishments can include amputation of hands, feet, flogging, and death. However, the application of these punishments is often subject to strict evidentiary standards, making their implementation rare in practice. Yeah, they're not giving me much. But okay, I mean it makes sense though. So the point is that they have a Sharia law in which they want to implement in these nations that they're infiltrating. So again, fine if they get into your country and they can do that, good on them. If you don't allow them or you shouldn't allow them, then you stop them. Great.
yeah, I mean, it's a fundamental difference than what we're used to here in the United States. We believe in the separation of church and state. Religion should not persuade or not influence the decision of law that goes into the land. That's the whole Bill of Rights is like we have rights under God that were given just as we're born, right? As soon as you're born, that's like you're entitled to these rights, and one of those is the freedom of religion. You should be able to practice whatever religion you want. And I don't know with the Sharia law, I don't know how many Christians are in those countries. I doubt there's very many in Iraq and Afghanistan and stuff like that. So that's the whole fundamental difference for Americans and why Americans will probably never allow that to happen because that's just the fundamental difference that we have.
Hmm. So uh, the one last thing I'll mention with the meeting with Bukele. So that chick from CNN who Pompino always blasts. What's her name? It's
Caitlin
not
something?
Megan Kent. What's that?
Caitlin something?
Yeah, I think it's Caitlyn. Uh,
But
what
yeah,
the
he
fuck is
he let the whole administration take a shot at her. He's like, all right, Marco, you want to go? Pam, you want to go?
cooking him? He's calling out the Avengers. All right, cook her up, cook her up. Stephen Miller's competent. I fuck with Stephen Miller.
Yeah, where
He
did he come
knows.
from? What's his background?
I don't know. He came out of nowhere. Pompino just unleashed him on the fucking media and he started cooking everybody. So let's look up real quick. Stephen Miller political career. Because the guy's dialed in. He knows his civics. He understands what's going on. Stephen Miller, born August 23rd, 85, is an American political. No, he's younger. Good. Let's see. President preceded. Let's see. 12th United States Homeland Security Advisor and White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy since 2025. His policies have been described as far right and anti. Wikipedia is hilarious. Um, let's see. Stephen Miller is going all in. Setting policy from inside the White House with lead group. He co-founded shaping policy from outside the legal complaints. Oh, this is all just people talking shit about him. Hilarious, bro. The media is insane.
Even
Look, Wiki,
Wikipedia is infiltrated.
yeah. So Wikipedia is also run by left wing individuals. So they change it to. I mean, of course, people know you can edit information on Wikipedia, but it's edited by people who are trying to control the narrative as well. So you can't even use Wikipedia anymore. But Stephen Miller, I was saying in the Discord, he's somebody you should strive to be in terms of your knowledge on a subject. He's so well versed and understands very deeply the civics, the law, how this nation was built, so that he can defend all the points that he's making to people. So somebody like that chick from CNN's like, wrongly deported. Da, da, da. He gives a complete masterclass on how it actually works. The 9-0 Supreme Court ruling in favor of the Trump administration as to why this district court judge can't bar them from sending an immigrant somewhere, illegal immigrant somewhere, etc. He's just completely schooling her, and he's like, "Do you guys even understand what you're talking about? Do you even understand how this shit works?" Oh well, da, da, da. He's like, "No, that's not how it works. You guys are trying to build a narrative around something that doesn't even legally make sense." I mean, think about that. There's four left wing, complete far left wingers on the Supreme Court. So four out of nine. The other five are conservative. All nine, unanimously said, "Bruv, you can't do this." And they're still like, "Oh, you guys illegally." Da, da, da. What do you mean illegally? They just said 9-0. Supreme Court upheld it. You can do that. Like you said, the only thing that they would have to do is if Bukele wanted to send them back, we would just have to take them back and then resend them again. Bruv. But yeah,
I even saw
it's
people online that like the Supreme Court won 9-0 to return them. It's just like people are idiots.
that was on the news
Was
last
it?
night. Bruv, I'm telling you, it is so crazy the fugaz that they put on TV. Every once in a while, you just got to throw it on just to see what
Hmm.
they're saying.
You gotta see.
It makes me laugh so hard. I heard them say exactly what you just said on the TV. President Trump and da 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 had President Bukele in the, White House. Maryland man illegally sent. They said illegally sent to El Salvador. President Bukele said he's not sending him back. Something shit like that.
Yeah, duh.
That's not what happened. That's not what happened. But it is what it is. That's why they're gonna die on these hills of. Oh, did you see Gavin Newsom now asking for billions of dollars for his Medicaid program in
No.
California? Bummakla. Back in 2022, he set up this new Medicaid program in California. Oh, there we go. Little subscriber. Let's see here. What do
Boom.
we got? Destiny. Oh, what's going on, Destiny? So he says in California, he said, "All right, we're gonna do a new Medicaid, where we can protect anybody, even illegal immigrants. They're gonna put
Mm.
on there at no cost. You get health care, blah 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 blah." Couple years later, 2025, he had to ask for a multi-billions of dollar loan to be able to fund the Medicare program he has because it went bankrupt. They have no more money to pay for all these people to get
Well,
health care.
yeah, it makes I mean, you're gonna run out of money fast with doing that style for sure.
It's like, bro, did you not fucking use your brain, bro?
And I mean, the Trump administration's not just writing blank checks. We know that. They're doing the opposite. They're taking checks back. So for him to think that that was going to work is kind of crazy.
It The issue with the government is once they stopped thinking that they had to operate, number one, in the best interest of the American people. They no longer care about the American people. They just care about, it's a good question. What do they care about? Who knows? But it's not about the American people, at least on the far left. They don't care about Americans, right? They don't care. They don't like the fact, they don't like the idea of America at all. They think America's racist. They think America's terrible. They think America's this, that, and the third, even though they live in the nicest country in the world. It's like, it's just ungratefulness. But they don't love Americans. And they stopped running the government profitably. And so, because they don't look at it like a business, they look at it as a way to just
A
give
charity.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big charity. That's not how the world works. You have to have a system in which you bring in a certain amount of money, and therefore, with that money, you can do what you do with those resources. But you bankrupt this entire nation because you think it's just a big money printer and you can just keep borrowing and stealing and taking, doing this, that, and the third. Then you end up destroying the nation because it's not profitable. You can't live like this. China, China doesn't do what we do when it comes to spending. They bring in money, they bring in assets, they export goods. We're just push it out, push it out, push it out.
Yeah.
We think it's never going to end. It's not how it works. You got to be profitable. You can't Gavin Newsom just say, "Oh yeah, we're going to go ahead and take care of all these illegal immigrants now on Medicare," and then boom, bankrupt in 3 years. And they're hemorrhaging people out of California, so they're losing their taxpayer base as well.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Hundreds of thousands a year.
That's your answer. That's your Gavin Newsom. That's your answer right there. If people are leaving your state at record numbers, do you think you're doing a good job? Probably not.
No. And if you look at states like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina, some of them, even some out in the Midwest, Missouri, Kansas, like those are the largest growing states. Like who would have thought 20 years ago people would be picking up and moving to Kansas City? Like, but they are. Tech companies are building out there. People are moving out there. It's like people just want to be left alone, and those are some of the states where just they vote red one, but they have just not those kind of policies where they're just going to hand out and homelessness in the streets, and he's got so many problems that he needs to be focusing on. He doesn't need to be focusing on free Medicare for everyone. Listen, I think Medicare is important for everyone, but you have to come up with a better system than just we're going to get everybody on here and then we're going to pay for it. Because one, you're going to bankrupt your hospitals, and then your hospitals are going to have shitty doctors, they're going to have shitty nurses. Nobody's going to want to work there. It's going to be a madhouse. It'll be homeless people who are high on drugs in the lobby waiting to get in and get some service because they know they could get a free meal that night. It's just it'll be madness. You can't do that. You have to have and that's one of the things that a lot of people knock the United States on. It's like, oh, we don't have free healthcare. It's like, do you see some of the people that live in the United States? Like they need healthcare all day, every day. They got needles sticking out of their arms. They're bleeding from their head. We got 600-pound people, obese, who came and walked to the kitchen. It's like you want to give these people free healthcare? The people who don't even care about themselves? Like these people will literally sleep on the streets, die in the streets, eat out of trash cans. They're going to get sick. And then that's coming out of the healthcare for a young child who has problems or who has cancer. It's like these things, it's like you can't take resources, like it's not the same resource line for everyone because everybody has their own problems. So that's one. And, the Canadians love to knock that. It's like, and if you have a good job, like if you work a good job and you get, most people work 9 to 5s, corporate jobs, you get good health care with any of those jobs. It's like they're not just like every employer gives someone health care. Even if you're an entrepreneur, there's ways to get health care, good health care. The same thing you buy in. So, that's just another mess of a problem that Gavin Newsom has to figure out of what he's
Yeah,
going to do there.
the last point I'll make on that is we got to get back to prioritizing what's most important, and that's the American people. We want to be, and I understand the idea behind taking care of all these people because it's the moral high ground. It's the right thing to do. We should help everybody. Everybody's the same, but the reality is that's not how the world works. And if you're too busy trying to save everybody else, just like on an airplane, you're going to end up dying with everybody else if you don't put that oxygen mask on yourself first. You have to save yourself first before you can even think about helping somebody else. We're sitting here without our oxygen mask on. It's still up fucking hanging. We're not breathing and we're trying to, 20 other people put on their oxygen masks. Everybody's going to die that way. You got to, number one, fend for yourself and teach other people how to fend for themselves. And then once you have all your fucking ducks in a row. You have everything set up properly. You're a profitable nation. You're prospering. You're winning. You're educating people. People are becoming better. Standard of living is going up. The life expectancy is going up. All these things are great. Cool. Now you want to go start helping other people that are not citizens? Fine. Once you got those down and you got everything else beautiful, go for it. But our life expectancy is going down. All of our children are getting autism, fucking becoming retarded. The education's getting worse. Okay, so we're losing our grasp on education. Standard of living is not going up. The GDP is getting stagnant. Like, all these markers of a growing nation, of a healthy nation for us, if you're being completely honest and looking at the data, are going down or are stagnant. So how long are we going to keep lying to ourselves and acting like everything's great and okay before we actually decide to wake up and do something about the fact that we are not okay?
Yeah, it's got to be cleaned up. There's definitely areas all across the country that could be cleaned up in terms of immigration policy and healthcare and different things. And I have confidence that the next generation will kind of clean up a little bit better than the boomer generation or Gen X, because I feel like a lot of the generations are kind of weaning off the drug use, hopefully, and hopefully we can see that, because I think that's the root cause in a lot of it is some people get some addictions, and then they're out in the street, and then homelessness problems and things like that, and then the healthcare problems just they stumble in after that. So in terms of that, there's things I think that are gonna get better, but there's also some things that some people are trying to make worse, which we see with the Liberal Party. They try to like pour gasoline on the fire to some things, and who knows why? What are their goals? I think it's the globalist agenda to get more cheap labor moving around the world, and different ideas moving. Whatever. I don't really care. We got to focus on what we got to focus on, and we know what it is. We know we're business minded, and we know what's important. Like you said, I think that is the key. What's important.
Hmm. And that's a good place to wrap up. The As you were saying, the globalist agenda. Here's the other big disconnect for the Democratic Party I see right now. As you were saying that, both of us seem stumped on what they're even trying to accomplish. The Democratic Party has no vision, and that's
Mm,
why they're flailing right now. Because without a vision, the people will perish. If they don't understand what the goal is, what's the end all be all, what's the magic scenario or the perfect scenario? They don't have one. I literally have no idea what they're trying to do.
and
I
it's
don't know. I don't understand. What are they trying to do?
They were in power for 4 years, and we still have no idea.
Yeah. It's so that's it right there. The Republicans right now, they have a vision. Make America great again. That's the vision. Great. We can buy into that. Beautiful.
And it starts with tariffs, starts with a little economic reform, starts with a little immigration reform, starts, law enforcement reform, getting cops working again, getting people who are criminals off the street. I mean, that's something you could get behind, but it just standing out there with a pickaxe saying, "Don't do that." Don't do it's like you're not helping anybody. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping anybody. The next generation just like saying like, "Don't do that. That's bad." It's like, okay, well, what do you want to do?
Yeah, right.
Oh, we
I
don't
don't
know.
know. Like, okay, then just shut the fuck up. All right. Cool. All right. Well, that's a good place to wrap up. Do a little Mr. Producer real quick. You want to hit him with a quick plug?
Yeah, let's plug them up. We got if you guys are still watching,
No diddy. Let's plug him up.
if you guys are still watching, still make sure to hit the subscribe button. Make sure to hit the like button. We're gonna be here every Wednesday. Primo's live every Monday and every Thursday for the market professionals, right? Monday and Thursday.
Yes, correct.
Monday
Yep.
and Thursday. So check out his videos on YouTube and on live on X for the market analysis. It's been getting better and better every week. Really proud of what Priamo's done in terms of market analysis over the past year. He's really gone from an amateur trader to like some of the stuff he does is Wall Street level trading. So make sure to check that stuff out and get inside the community. You guys could get inside the private crypto plays if you want to follow along with Priamo's trades there and stuff. And you guys could see when he's entering, could see all the charts he draws out for you. So tons of juice, tons of analysis that you guys could have just by joining the Taylor's Code community. Check out the link in our descriptions here, link in my bio on X, link in the description on YouTube, same as Priamos wherever you're watching this at. So make sure if you guys are also interested in e-commerce, I'm leading e-commerce courses a few times a week, also doing audits on your current e-commerce course. So if you have something that you guys are building, you have a website, you're building digital products, maybe you have a clothing store, whatever it might be, just getting off the ground with it. I run it through a whole audit process that I have, going through your technology processes, your suppliers, and then your fulfillments, and making sure you guys are doing cheaper shipping. So all of that stuff going to get you guys optimized to turn more profit and make more sales with different ad strategies in YouTube and Facebook, Google, things like that. So if you guys want to get involved with that, check out the link in our descriptions to the Taylor's Code community. All right.
Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's fucking work. All right, we'll see you inside the Discord, and we'll see you on the next episode when you guys are tired of winning some more. All right, tired of winning, huh? We had double digit live.
Let's go.